she talked. Okay. She talks about how the work of reconciliation really falls on us, on non-Indigenous people, and that wearing orange shirts and land acknowledgements are simply not enough unless they have action, substance behind them. They're empty gestures. And our festival, our organization is committed to trying to walk the talk, to build relationships with the First Nations, to try and incorporate more Indigenous content in our festival. And again, just want to express gratitude for being able to be here and work, play, and live on these lands. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. We are in session, and interesting. I think we're gonna introduce the board members next. So if possible, I'd like everyone to just kind of give a hand wave and acknowledge that they're here with us. Anne Blaine, the vice president.
Hey.
Jeff Finger, our treasurer. Melinda Suto, secretary.
Hello.
And of course, Pete Siegel is not going to speak, but he's the seabird at large and he's always with us. Yi Chan, member at large.
Hi, everybody.
Tess Kitchen.
Hello.
Anne McDonald joining us from New Zealand.
Hello.
Amy Newman.
Hi, everyone.
Christina Price.
Hello.
And Nimi Takar.
Hi, everyone.
I'd also like to introduce our facilitator, Amy Newman, and she's been approved by our board of directors to act as facilitator for tonight's annual general meeting. She's been involved with the Vancouver Folk Music Festival in multiple capacities, including a past chair of the board, performer, staff member, and committee coordinator. She's been a music teacher, a classroom teacher, district fine arts coordinator, and now expresses her passion for leadership as a school principal. I would like now to pass it over to Amy.
Thank you so much, Erin. I get to do some of the fun stuff like the rules of order. So I'm going to begin by briefly sharing the rules of order. For our required motions, Erin will be reading them and listing the mover and the seconder. And then there'll be an opportunity for discussion or questions specific to the pending motion. I'm just going to gently remind folks that we need to keep our questions relevant to the topic, the pending motion, or the agenda item. There will be time later on in the evening if you have other questions you might like to ask. If you have a question, please use the raise hand function, which is found under reactions. It's at the top of the screen for Mac users and the bottom of the screen for those of you on PCs. Let's just take a moment to try out that raise your virtual hand function so everybody can fairly vote when it's time. Do you mind just to take a moment and show us your lovely hand?
Sorry, could you tell us where it is again?
Sure. It is at the top of the screen under reactions if you're on a Mac, and the bottom of the screen if you're on a PC under that reactions title.
I don't have that on my screen.
You might have to click the three dots that say more, and then a list of further options will appear. And one of them should be reactions.
Not seeing it. Anyway, whatever.
I'm on a Mac and that interface is at the bottom of my screen for what it's worth.
Oh, thanks, Chris.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
that solves it. I was looking at the top too. I'm in an iMac and it's at the bottom.
Yeah,
That was helpful. Yeah, it's at the bottom of mine too.
yeah. Well, yeah, it's possible my notes were backwards. However, if you're on a Mac, I'd look in the left corner at the bottom. I'm seeing lots and lots of hands up. Thank you for practicing. Is there anyone who's still stuck? Nope. Alrighty, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. Let's lower our hands now. So you're going to go to the same place and just, it'll say to lower hand, something like that, in the same spot. Still have a few wayward hands. Just give people a few seconds to lower their hand. It should say lower hand, I think. Your hand's still up, Gwen. Perfect. Just going forward, if you're having any trouble with the raise your hand function or having any technical issues, please just type a question in the chat. Christina, board member, is monitoring the chat and she'll try to help you troubleshoot. Christina and Tess will also be looking out for other questions and comments in the chat this evening for those who don't want to raise their hands and speak during the meeting. We will be voting on a couple of things tonight using Zoom polls, and we've got a practice poll ready so we can all see how it works. When it's time to vote on a motion, I'll call the vote and Nimi will launch the poll. To vote, you just click on the option that you want to choose. Everybody can go ahead and vote on your favorite thing about the festival. You should see it on your screen. Usually takes a little while for everyone to read the question and cast their vote, and your internet speed may be not as fast or quick. So there could be a minute of, oh, I'm being warned, there could be a minute of awkward silence while we wait for all the votes to be cast. But the good news is we don't have any complicated confidential votes that need to be tallied separately. So we won't have to sit and wait for votes to be counted. I'm going to vote as well. If you clicked and then submitted your vote, I'll give folks a second or two to do that. Where are we at, Nimi? Are we good to share the results of the poll now? Okay. Looking at our screen, we can see the results of our, all of the above. Yeah, it was a tough one. It was a tough one for sure. Beautiful location, amazing music. How do you choose? All of the above? 64%. So nice work, everyone, and good to see what people love about our festival. Everybody voted in this poll because it was just for fun. You can close your little window where it says close. I just need to remind you all that only members are allowed to vote on the actual motions at the meeting. And so if you're not a member and a poll pops up, you can just please close the poll without voting. And now we can move on to our first motion of the evening. Thanks so much, everyone. Aaron?
Thanks, Amy. So we have a motion that the 2024 Vancouver Folk Music Festival Society AGM be adopted as circulated. Our mover is Anne Blaine and our seconder is Tess Kitchen.
You'll see the poll on the screen in front of you. Are there any questions or discussion about the motion? Okay, seeing no questions or discussion on the pending motion.
Just
Oh,
the
perhaps-
23. Oh, the agenda. Sorry, I thought it was the minutes. Okay.
Oh, no problem. Okay, since there are no further questions, I think that I can see anyways on the pending motion to adopt the agenda, I will call for that vote. So please enter your vote into the poll. If you're a guest, you can just click the X in the poll. And when done, Nimi will post our results. 100% in favor. Wonderful. Thank you so much, folks. You can close that on your screen. Aaron?
Okay. So I'm not going to read the minutes of the March 1st, 2023 annual general meeting, as you have been provided with a copy of the the minutes in the pre-meeting information email. We have a motion that the minutes of the March 1st, 2023 Vancouver Folk Music Festival annual general meeting be approved as circulated. Our mover is Anne Blaine. Our seconder is Melinda Suto.
Thanks, Aaron. You can see the approval of the minutes on your screen. Are there any questions or any discussion about the motion? I see one hand up. Are you able to unmute your microphone? Or are you voting?
Yeah, no, there were some changes after the AGM as far as directors' positions and things, I believe. So will that be reflected in the minutes this year, or how does that get captured?
Aaron?
So that's going to come up a bit later in the meeting. We are going to report on the change of directors when we look at the bringing new directors on. So the minutes were until from the time of the last meeting and don't reflect what happened since. That'll be in this year's minutes, but we will talk about the change in directors.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah, wonderful. Any other questions? I can't see everybody at the moment. Looks good. Alrighty, that sounds great. Seeing there's no other, the vote has gone. Let's see. Yep, we're good. This motion, let's see the poll. Couple of not voting. They probably are abstaining or not members. Thank you so much. And a 91% approval of the minutes. So we can close that poll. Thanks, Nimi, for posting those results. And that motion, as also the previous motion, has been carried. Now on to the president's report.
Okay, so it's been a very busy year, and circulated with the AGM package was a more lengthy report that was submitted by me, but worked on by all of the board, because we have a very collaborative board. And I want to go through some of the highlights of this year. We had a successful 2023 festival, and we are looking ahead to July 19th to 21st, 2024, which is going to be another great festival. We've been strengthening our ties with other organizations. We've been raising the profile of the festival. We've been trying to kind of reclaim our place, because when the festival was really struggling in past years, it hasn't been able to do things like co-productions and working with other organizations. We've been doing more of that. We have, as I said, in the land acknowledgement, we've really been trying to strengthen our relationships with the local First Nations. And that's an ongoing process. We're trying to incorporate more content into the festival. This year, I can tell you there will be, again, strong Indigenous representation in the program. Our JEDI&A committee is active and working on broadening the base of support for the festival, reaching out to other communities and organizations. We've been collaborating with other festivals in terms of programming, but also organizational stuff. 2 staff members went to Calgary for a meeting of Western festivals to look at ways to do things better. We've been really focused on donations and bringing in more revenue in all sorts of ways. Our holiday ticket sale, I have to say, was the most successful one we have ever had. And we've hit 10% of our ticket sales. Not to say that we are done. We really need your help to get more people to buy tickets and support the festival. We have staffed some key positions. We have people in the office. The board is able to step back from a lot of the operational roles that we have done. We're in a transition year. We're still doing some of that, but things are going really well. We also hired a sponsorship manager, and we're putting a lot of emphasis on sponsorships, something that that this board believes the festival has not done adequately in the past, and we're really looking at growing that revenue stream for the festival. We also hired a couple grant writers. The festival has applied for more grants and is looking at more grant revenue than it's seen in its history, which is really good. We've been trying to keep you all up to date with our newsletters, our social media posts. Many of you know we had a virtual town hall in November that was well attended and well received. And because we are in transition, we are working with Vantage Point that specializes in organizational development for nonprofits to look at where we go with our organizational structure. And I think that is everything that I have to say. Amy, we'll have some time for questions for me after we do Fiona's report. Is that correct?
No, I think I'm just going to ask right now after your report, because
Okay,
this is the
great.
president's report. So I will follow that process and just ask if there's questions or discussion on the president's report that you just offered, Aaron. Thank you. I see some hands. Sorry, it's okay. I see some raised hands in the on the chat. Let's see, who's that person? Joel, I think I saw your hand first.
Just a question about the work around what the sponsorship manager has been doing. Some of the sponsors that he's been reaching out to, can you say a bit more about that? And yeah, and the second part would be about some of the grants that you're also pursuing. Very curious.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm wondering, in terms of the sponsorship, Yi, would you like to take that question? Because you work more closely with Ian and might be better able to answer that question more fully.
Sure, of course. I could answer both questions actually.
Fantastic.
So for the sponsorship aspect, we're reaching out to a huge number of organizations that are aligned with our mission and our value. And we are pursuing opportunities in terms of putting some of our key offering for the festivals available for sponsorship. So for example, we have never had a sponsor for Bike Valley. We will have a sponsor for Bike Valley this year. And it is a local company that is well aligned with our values. So we certainly look at our potential sponsors to ensure that people coming to the festival will feel very aligned with the choices that we're making. For the grants, we have reestablished some of the past grants that we did apply for in the past and we have not applied for in recent years, just due to staff shortage, to be honest. So I would say that we have pursued over 12 grants, totaling almost $900,000 in ask. And all our fingers and toes are crossed right now, hoping that a good majority of that will come in. I hope that answers your question. Joel?
Yes, and I think that's, I really commend commend the people working on that and your team for that pursuit. I think that's great for sustainability. Great to hear. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for the question, Joel. In the chat also, one of our board members has mentioned that the new sponsors, last year's new sponsors included environmental nonprofits, BC Parks Foundation, and Eco Justice. And I think next in the queue is Linda McNeil.
Hi, thanks. This is also a question about sponsors, and I understand the festival would, of course, always want to be aligning their sponsorship with people who meet the values. But say there's people who might not meet the values. Is there any sort of structure where those people could be sponsors, but maybe they are in some way sustaining sponsors that create a fund for the festival that's long-term? So you're not going to see their name on a tent. You're not going to see their name at the beer garden or somewhere like that, but maybe they're going to be in the program later on, and maybe they create a separate fund for the festival that becomes part of its investment fund to make it more sustaining. Have you done anything like that? I'm just curious. And part of that comes up for me because I'm going to volunteer for a hospice society, and they've asked, could you donate $500? Could you donate blah, blah, blah? And that's how they're doing some of their sponsorship for their hospice outreach work.
Thank you, Linda. That's a really great question, and it's something we've been talking quite a lot about. Does someone on the board want to respond? Anne, do you want to turn your mic on and respond to her?
Thank you. Thank you, Amy, and thank you, Linda, for your question. We certainly are reaching out to individuals and to corporations for donations, which is kind of what you're talking about, I think, more than sponsorship. The basic difference between those two things is that sponsorship is an arrangement that is quite transactional, and it usually comes out of a corporation's marketing budget. So we offer them benefits, including visibility at the festival with logo, placement or naming of stages, that kind of thing. Whereas a donation is more of a philanthropic gift. So we're certainly open to and welcome donations from any and all to, as you say, help build our sustainability and hopefully a fund that will see us through the future. So thanks again for that question.
Thanks, Linda. Are you good with that for now? Yeah. Thank you so much. And Chris Clausen, you've been waiting patiently.
I have, it's true. A couple of questions. Last year we got money from the province, $250,000, I believe. Are we able to make up that shortfall ourselves? Do the grants come into that? What are the other factors? And it's really great about Vantage Point. If you could just outline some of maybe the top 3 things that we're looking at in learning from them and how they're guiding us.
Great question, Chris. Who would like to respond?
Christina?
I wasn't sure if Jeff's hand was up to respond or okay. So the question was around Vantage Point, and I missed the other part of it. Is it just Vantage Point?
Chris was just asking what the kind of key things we're working on with them. Is that right, Chris?
Sure, yeah. And you were talking about like the discrepancy of losing that funding from the province, or
that's right.
Yeah, so the province did just reinstate the BC Fairs Festivals and Events Fund, albeit with half of the budget that they had for last year, and also with a pro-family inequitable process of applying where they're taking applications on a first come first served basis, which I don't understand, but that's fine. We got ours in really fast. So we're hoping that will help. We've applied for other grants. For example, we did recently receive $100,000 in grants that we didn't get last year. So that helps make up some of that shortfall. And then the rest of it, yeah, we're trying with individual donations, with sponsorships, with everything we can think of to try to make up that. But my hope is that we can also advocate to make the BC Fairs, Festivals and Events Fund a permanent fixture in the province, because either the arts are important and the government's going to fund them, or they're not. And I think we should be advocating for the former. For a Vantage Point, we actually got a grant from the city of Vancouver last year, and part of that is going towards working with Vantage Point, which is a nonprofit in Vancouver, that their whole mandate is helping other nonprofits build capacity. And so we have a consultant who's working with us, and that's been paid for by the city, to do an assessment of where we're at as an organization, and to do some long-term planning around financial sustainability and an HR plan, because right now we're still working with no really permanent staff other than Anne Hepner, who's here on the call this evening and comes in once a week to do our books. But otherwise, we're relying a lot on contract staff and a lot of free labor from our board members. So we're working with them on just that long-term planning so that we can get our feet back under us and hopefully get back to an even better than normal situation for the festival. Hopefully that answers your question, Chris.
That sounds really great, Christina. Thank you. The interface for reactions, etc., has now changed in the middle of the meeting. I can't see how to unmute myself. There's now an interface on the left-hand side.
Chris, at the bottom of your screen, your microphone has gone away. Yeah. Okay. Anyone can help him maybe? Then let me know, because I can see my mic. So I maybe just go ahead, Nimi.
Nimi here. I've muted Chris, and Chris, if you need to unmute, just put something in the chat and I'll unmute you.
Thank you in the background, Nimi. Appreciate it. Jeff, we're gonna go to Jeff, and then we have a couple other questions. So Jeff, go ahead.
Just a quick comment about the one of the things that were able to accomplish this year is to come up with a path for US donors, sort of philanthropic donors, if you will, to get a tax receipt, a US tax receipt. And that was a request from a number of donors last year. So that's a step forward in allowing those our US audience members and supporters to make a contribution and at a lower cost.
Thanks, Jeff. And username Dog Kahuna. Over to you, buddy.
I just want to register caution and restraint when it comes to naming sponsorship. I'm coming to you from south of the border where everything's for sale. And I just really hate to come to the next festival where stage 2, whatever the marketing name is for it now, is the Toronto Bank Dominion Bank stage, where everything is named corporately. And I don't feel those are our values. And I'd like for naming sponsorship to be the lowest priority in terms of going after funding for this festival, because that's just, I've seen the path. I've seen further down the path being an American and seeing what that turns into down here. And it's not pretty. Thank you.
Really appreciate that comment. Believe me, we talk about this quite often. It's an ongoing thing, and we also know it can be a really slippery slope. And I think Anne, are you wanting to respond to that? Okay, there you go. Go for it.
Thanks, Amy, and thank you for the question. One thing just to keep in mind is that nobody approaches us, or at least this has never happened to my knowledge, offering sponsorship dollars. We have to approach them. So that's the first thing, is that we are in control of that. And as Amy said, we talk about it a lot, and we think about our members and what our members would want and what our audience would want to see at the festival. And we would never approach a sponsor that we felt uncomfortable with to start with. And also, yeah, your point is really well taken. Like, you don't want a lot of visual garbage out there. Like, you want to be able to just be at the site, appreciate the beautiful view and the beautiful music. So we'll keep that well in mind. Thanks again.
Thank you, Anne. Gordon, I think you're next.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what is meant by the festival. I'm glad that the festival had a successful 2023, but I'm not sure what that means in practical terms. Does that mean that the festival lost less money than usual, that it broke even, or that it made money? And is the festival currently running a deficit? I'm sorry, that's two questions in one.
All good. Gordon, those questions will all be fully fleshed out when we get to the financial report. Our treasurer is going to speak to all of the questions you just asked. If you're okay to hold on till then, he's got some slides and such. Are you okay to hang on till then, Gordon?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks.
Okay, sure, thank you. Tony, you have a question?
Yeah, hi there.
Hi.
Back when we were all freaking out and worried a year ago, I was one of the people that put my name on a list of volunteers interested in getting involved with donations. And I've never heard back. I'm wondering what is going on with that. Maybe you've decided to shift your focus, do it a different way. Yeah.
Good question.
Oh, we'll be calling you, Tony. I did reach out way back last year to all the folks who were on that list, but I think there was a lot of messaging going out, and most people didn't get back to me, and that's fine. And then also we didn't, we were trying to make sure we had a festival. We had less than 4 months to put it together. We do have a campaign coming up quite soon around monthly donations, and I would love to have your help. So we will be in touch.
Thank you.
We know where to find you, Tony, so expect us to come knocking on your door. Thank you for the question. I just wanted to draw attention to a question from Leslie in the chat, and she said, thank you for saying what the JEDI is. I just put sometimes people don't even know what the acronym means, so I just kind of quickly popped that into the chat. Christina responded to say that, Christina, do you want to speak to it, or Nimi, or in the chat, she just wrote that JEDI shows up in a lot of ways. It's ensuring we have a diverse group of artists, that we have volunteer opportunities for folks of all abilities, that we offer free and discounted tickets to equity deserving communities, and just try to make our festival as accessible as possible for audience members. There's an entire volunteer committee dedicated to this. It's significant. We have a JEDI committee that board members meet regularly about. And did you want to add more to that, Christina or Nimi? No?
Or Yi.
Or Yi? Nimi? Yi?
I could add more to it. We meet at least quarterly. We do a number of things together as a team. It is composed of currently 2 board members and 1 staff and 3 external members. We review current trends in the area of JEDI. We review all of our documentation for the upcoming festival to ensure that any new things that should be adopted is adopted in there. For this year, we are doing a significant amount of outreach to collaborate with other underserved community nonprofit organizations. You will see a lot of those initiatives coming to light when you walk through the gate this July.
Thank you, Nimi.
Yi.
Leslie, I hope that answers your question. I'm not seeing any further questions from the president's report. And therefore, we will move on to the artistic director's report. Our AD Fiona Black unfortunately isn't able to join us this evening because she's actually presenting a show tonight that many of us wish we were also at, but alas, we are here and we're happy to be here. She has made a brief video that we'd like to share with you now.
Hi, friends of Vancouver Folk Music Festival. Thank you so much for coming. It's so nice to see the membership grow so much this year. I can only think that that's a really positive sign for our organization. Well, what a dramatic year it's been, and what a difference a year makes for this organization. I'm sorry that I can't be with you virtually tonight, but I have a prior commitment. First of all, I just want to say huge gratitude for all the love and support last year. We all made the festival happen. It took a village, a very hardworking, committed, and passionate village to pull off the miracle that it was. As I took the lead on programming, I want to thank the artists, the agents, managers, our sister festivals, the board, staff, our volunteers, and the community at large for such unconditional love and confidence that we could pull it off in a pretty short time span, I have to say. Now, looking ahead to 2024, we're in such a better position. The board and staff continue to work really hard to make this year's edition very special and to bring about stability and a more future forward festival. I can tell you that the lineup is complete, and that sure feels awesome. We have a wonderful diversity of artists coming from all over the globe, including some familiar names and some bands that you will love discovering. Your new favorite band awaits you. I can't wait to see you all at Jericho Beach, July 19th to the 21st. Come for the whole festival. You really won't want to miss any of the best weekend of the year. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. I'm so pleased that Fiona had a moment to record the video for us. As I said, she's at the Blue Shore at Capilano. She's got an evening that she's promoting, a concert that she's working on and has promoted, and they're performing tonight. And so now, Gordon, you're in luck. It's time to hand things over to our treasurer, Jeff Finger, for his financial report.
Thanks, Amy. So you've all received the financial report and the financial statements in the AGM package. And so let's just jump in and give a brief overview of our situation. We have said that last year's festival was a financial success, and for a number of reasons. One of them is, with the threat of the cancellation of the festival, our supporters came through with extraordinary donations. And the province's one-time fairs, festivals, and events grant of $250,000 to the festival came in just in time to help us out, as did their grants to other festivals. With board members taking on many staff roles, we were able to put on the festival with the same number of stages as in 2022, and we ended with a small surplus, which added to our existing cash reserve. The decision to put on this festival and many other arts events takes careful analysis of risks and a great leap of faith. This decision happened not long after the last festival ended, and long before the status of grants was known, and before many other cost and revenue items could get nailed down. So we decided to go ahead with the 2024 festival with the same number of stages and some improvements, and that was based on our estimate that the expenses would exceed our revenues, and thus we would use up most of our small cash reserve. Of course, we're working hard to increase the attendance and the fundraising, but we know that this is not sustainable for future festivals beyond 2024 without a dramatic increase in revenue from our sponsors, individuals, and grants. And we know that having volunteer board members do the work of our full-time staff is also not sustainable. So next slide. So let's look at some of the details. So this is a $2 million event, and we're planning for some increase in attendance and ticket sales. We anticipate increased individual donations, though not quite as large as the record-breaking $171,000 from last year. And our sponsorship efforts, as was mentioned recently, are paying off, and we're predicting some more dollars in sponsorship. We did budget for a big drop in grant revenue this year at $429,000. The good news is, as Christina mentioned, the one so-called one-time provincial fairs, festivals, and events grant has just been announced for another year with half the budget, and we immediately applied, and we're hoping to get positive news. We have some other grants in the works as well. If all the grants are successful, we could hit $719,000 in grant revenue. The next slide. So looking back at just the last 10 years of our long history, you can see that we have been in deficit positions before. And as many of you know, there have been worse times before that. But these are more difficult times in the live music world. But to deal with these financial challenges, I don't think it makes any sense to scale back the festival to fewer stages and artists than we have right now. In the future, I want to see more stages, more artists, and a larger audience. Many of the grants that we applied for have now been approved, and I think we're going to have a great 2024 festival. With hard work and no rain and good luck, we may end this year with our small financial reserve intact. So that would be the dot with the question mark on it. That's where I hope we're going to be. And it looks like we may get there. We're actually in a stronger position to put on a festival than we've been in many years. And not just because we have a small cash reserve. More importantly, we have great enthusiasm from the board and the staff and the volunteers and the contractors and the funders and the sponsors and the audience that can make this festival thrive. Right now, there is a ferocious effort to increase our revenues and find new efficiencies and make the festival actually bigger and more sustainable. And that includes our plan to start to return to having year-round staff to keep the organization running and to support the activities that we are doing and want to do more of between festivals. So here are my personal suggestions on how you can help us achieve financial sustainability. Number one, when you're making your charitable contributions, keep the festival at the top of your list and please consider monthly giving. Number two, when you're doing your estate planning, please keep us in mind. And number three, finally, please reach out to your friends who haven't attended the festival lately or ever and encourage them to join us this year at Jericho. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Jeff. We appreciate that. As per protocol, the membership does not need to vote on this report. We just received the report at the AGM, but we're happy to take any questions at this time. You can raise your virtual hand or your real hand, or place your question into the chat if you have questions about the financial report. I see some comments in the chat. Thanks for the report, Jeff. How much monthly revenue are we currently receiving from monthly donors? That's Bob's question.
I do not have that figure at hand. If Ann Hepper is on, you might know that. She might know that. It's more than it's ever been.
Give me 1 minute. I'll look it up. This is Yi. I will
Thanks, Yi.
repeat the answer.
And Diane Cadota had a comment in the, question, also in the chat, is the festival planning an accumulated surplus to mitigate risk?
I can answer that one. We would love to have that, and we have been discussing a campaign to put $1 million in the bank, but it's a little premature this year to do that. Like as I said, if we have the fact that we had a surplus, a small accumulated surplus this year, meant that it made it much easier to put on the festival, because we could give advance payments to those suppliers that required it, and it just made the whole thing much easier. And if we can end up with the same surplus, keeping that surplus at the end of this fiscal year, then we'll be at least on the way to generating to building a surplus. But that's a campaign that we've talked about, and other festivals have property and great and much bigger resources available.
Thanks, Jeff.
And I'd just like to chime in and say that we're in a much better place. We're not out of the woods. We have a lot of work ahead of us, and this is why we're focusing on donations, sponsorships, increasing our revenue and our grant revenue, trying to find revenue wherever we can, and being really kind of laser focused on what we spend, and being very, very careful, because we want the goal of this board is to put the festival in a better financial place than it's ever been. And there's a lot of work for that, and we need your help, frankly.
And thank you, Aaron. I'm going to just go back to Yi if you have the answer to the monthly donation question. Are you there yet?
It's over $4,500 a month from over 260 donors.
Thank you. Thanks, Yi. And Gordon, I saw your hand up earlier. Do you want to ask a question at this time, Gordon?
Yeah, I have a question, but I'm not sure it doesn't relate specifically to the financial report. Rather, it relates more to a fundraising idea. So I'm not sure. I don't have an agenda in front of me, so I'm not exactly sure where in the meeting this would be appropriate to discuss.
A fundraising suggestion? Can we just take that now? Sure, go for it, Gordon.
Well, years ago, we did a big benefit in the Orpheum, and we brought in a bunch of out-of-town performers who played for minimal amount because they loved it. They were all people that appeared at the festival. I mean, Connie Calder was one of the people I remember. I can't remember who the others were. But I'm just wondering, like, a high-profile benefit of something like that, something along those lines, both raises the possibility of some increased revenue, but it also raises the profile of the festival. And I'm wondering if any thought has been given to this idea. Maybe, times have changed. Maybe it's no longer financially feasible to engage in such things. I don't know. I haven't been in touch, so I'm not really sure. But I'm just sort of putting it out there to see if anybody has any thoughts on this. It's when a benefit is when we call in all our favors with performers.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about for sure, Gordon. And we definitely had these kind of concerts, benefit concerts and support concerts in support of the organization over the years, for sure. It is something. Sorry, go ahead.
Going big. No, I don't mind something like an East End hall somewhere. I mean, like going really big, high profile.
Aaron, do you want to respond?
Yes, as someone who's been involved in event organizing for a lot of years and a lot of benefits, very few benefits actually make money. And coming out of a pandemic, asking musicians to work for free is, from my point of view, this is me speaking personally, I think beyond cheeky. and a bit disrespectful because they've really taken a big hit. And we are actually in the business of paying artists for their work and their worth. So I think the way for us to go to try and get ourselves out of the hole that we're in, because we're, as I say, we're not, I mean, I think it's really important for people to be clear. We're in a much better place, but we are not solid. And if we don't do well at this year's festival, 2025 is in jeopardy. We really need your help and support. Benefits are a great idea and they have other benefits, but generally they make very little money and they take a tremendous amount of work. And we have minimal staff and resources. And what the board is doing is trying to go for the bigger money, which is the sponsors, donors, grants, government funding, lobbying government. Believe me, there's a lot of meetings and a lot of work going on to try and have multi-year secure funding for the arts, which is what we need. But thank you for your suggestion.
Thank you, Aaron, for that response, and thanks for the question, Gordon. Appreciate that. Leslie Joy, your hand is up.
I have to unmute. Hello. This could be completely out on left field, and I apologize if it throws, gives you all whiplash. But last year, I was talking with a number of friends who have been at the Folk Festival for as many years as I have, going on for 40. And we got into a discussion about branding and the whole idea that a folk festival doesn't necessarily capture what we actually are presenting. Lots of people, when they hear the name folk festival, they think of old-time folk, and what you have presented fabulously over many, many years is an incredibly eclectic, it's folk music with capital folk, eclectic, but it's not what a lot of people think of as, oh yeah, well, it's a whole bunch of, hippies singing in the park, to a bunch of guitars. No, it isn't. Now, I don't know what you can do with that. You're obviously not going to rename the whole festival, but is there a way that we can broaden our appeal to get people who actually don't think they like folk music, but they actually would love to come to our festival?
Thank you,
I've
Leslie.
given you that, I can tell. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. It's off topic from the financial report, but it's connected because I think you are talking about how we can really deeply align what we do with how we promote and sell our event. And I think that's ultimately what we're all talking about right here. And
yeah, I'm sorry if it was out of place. Sorry about that.
No worries. And we really appreciate your comments. I think that I'm going to go back to John Dawson. John, go ahead.
Amy, yeah, I a couple of questions, or a question on a couple of points around grants as well. Creative BC is not on our list, and I'm wondering whether we get excluded from that, or we just had the short straw and they ran out of funds. And also Canada Council. Does someone have some information on the status of those entities vis-a-vis ourselves?
Sure, who would like to answer that? Yi, go ahead.
I can answer that. Canada Council, in Creative BC, we receive grant awards from both of these organizations this year. So we're extremely joyous and with great gratitude. Our Canada Council grant was extremely strong, which shows that there is support on their evaluation team for our events. and we're all geared up for reapplying next year. And once we apply a couple more times, we can apply for multi-year.
Just to follow, if I may, when you say the Creative BC grant, is that for the 2024 festival? Because I don't see it listed in the financial statements for last year.
No, it's for this year. We just received our award letter this month.
Oh, okay, fine, thank you.
And that one is for rebuilding, business development.
All the more, all the better.
Thank you.
Exactly. Thanks so much for the question, John.
Okay.
Chris, I think you've got your actual hand up and I can't see that, but if you'd like to speak, now's a great time to do so.
Okay, are we concerned about trying to pull in a larger audience to our site and have only the same number of stages? Personally, I don't know if this is a shared opinion. I felt that the site was oftentimes pretty tight last year.
Aaron, do you want to respond to that?
Sure. I'd love to see, a number of us would love to see the site expand, but really we have to do what is fiscally responsible. That's a big responsibility of boards. And we can't overreach at this point without jeopardizing the festival. And we're not going to do that. So what we're trying to do, certainly what Fiona is trying to do, and is to reach out to broader audiences with our programming, and that's also going to be with our marketing. And what if we can build all of the financial basis, sell more tickets, have a successful festival, then we can look at expanding. But really our first priority is to get permanent staff on board and take some of the work that the board has been doing operationally off of our plates so that we can focus on all the other stuff that we'd love to be doing, which we're doing some of, but we could be doing more. So I hear you, Chris, but
I'll just say it another way. Are we concerned about, and has it come up in the conversations, about alienating people with an overcrowded site?
Yeah, thanks for your question, Chris. I think what we're really looking at is kind of like a 10% more tickets, not you know, a huge increase that will flood the site. I mean, we do have a good spacious grounds, but we also have to be really, you know, we also have to be really mindful that people want to be able to enjoy it comfortably, right? And that matters to our community. So
okay, so it has come up. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
and
I get it entirely, and I understand it entirely.
Thanks, Chris. Aaron, did you want to say something?
I was just going to say we had a meeting last night about like how we design the site and what our capacity is, and you know, we have restrictions from the fire department around how large it can be, how many people can be on the site. So we're mindful about, you know, about overcrowding and it being, you know, workable.
Thanks for the question, Chris. Appreciate it. Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, just following on that meeting yesterday that I was in, we're also very focused on how to make the existing audience, which we hope will be somewhat a bit larger, more comfortable. You know, everybody is saying more shade, and you know, we listen to these comments and we just brainstorm all the ways that we can make the audience experience better. And I can't go into all the ways that are being discussed, but yeah, shade is a good example. People want more shade. They want to have a more enjoyable time when they're eating their dinners, and you know, there's a whole bunch of things we're trying to do to make the audience experience better. And as word gets out about that, I think that will help boost subsequent audiences too, because people have a not just report about the great music, but the rest of the experience as well.
Thanks so much, Jeff. I don't see any further questions at this time unless someone else does. Okay, thank you. This all was generated from your financial report, Jeff. So thank you again for that. And we're going to move on to the appointment of our auditor.
Okay, it is a requirement for the members to appoint the auditor for the next year. There is a change in auditor from the agenda you received, and we've selected a more economical and a very highly recommended auditor firm. So we recommend that the motion is that Stoll CPA Incorporated is appointed auditor until the close of the next annual general meeting. Our mover is Tess Kitchen and our seconder is Yi Chan.
Are there any discussions or questions about that motion to appoint the Stoltz CPA auditor? I don't see any questions at this time, so I will call for the vote. The poll is open on your screen for voting by members only. Please vote now. And when complete, we will post the results. Wonderful, 96% in favor. That motion has been carried. Aaron, on to you.
Yes, so we are onto the board election, although it is actually by acclamation. So there are 7 directors who will continue their terms. Myself, Anne Blaine, Melinda Suto, Tess Kitchen, Amy Newman, Christina Price, and Nimita Carr. 2 are standing to come back on the board, Jeff Finger and Anne McDonald. And we have 3 new candidates, Alison Klein, Alex Grigg, and Claude O'Connell.
Aaron, did you want to name the other folks that?
I'm coming to that.
Coming to it already.
Yeah, sure. I just have to go to the next page of my notes so that I don't miss anybody. Okay. And it's jumping. So just let me.
We've got Yi and Phil and Fiona.
Yeah,
and...
I am. Just let me scroll down because I clicked on something and it jumped to a completely different page. So the board of directors is established to represent you, the members of the Vancouver Folk Music Festival Society, in overseeing and guiding the organization. Thank you to everyone who expressed interest in joining us and participating in the nominations process this year. Each board member is elected for a 3-year term. And so what's happened is we were going to have an election, which is what you saw in your package, but one person stepped down. So now we are going to, it will be by acclamation. There are a number of directors whose terms are up, and Jeff and Anne, who I've talked about, completed their 1-year term. They were appointed after other people stepped down from the board. They are standing again for a 3-year term. Yi Chan completed the appointed term of 1 year. She came back onto the board after someone else had to step down. She had done a 3-year term, so Yi has done 4 years, and we thank Yi so much for her exceptional service. And as Nimi said, we have a Yi-sized hole on the board to fill. Speaking of Phil Hemming resigned in August 2023. Phil had done an additional term on the board after the 3 years, and also is tremendously involved in security work in the festival, and we are very grateful to Phil. Fiona Black resigned in September 2023 to take the position of part-time artistic director for the 2024 season. We're very glad to have her. She did that work for the 2023 festival as a volunteer. Trina Plamondon resigned in March 2023, as did Mark Zuberbuehler, the former president of the festival, society board, and Chris Clausen resigned in March 2023 as well. So where we are now, we did notice and calls for nominations. They were distributed to the members of the society through various means. As I said, we met with the qualified individuals. One of the nominees dropped off. We now have 5 candidates to 5 5 board vacancies, with these candidates joining by acclamation. A motion has been made to acclaim the 2 returning members and the 3 new members to the board. This was moved by Nimi Takar and seconded by Christina Price.
Thank you so much, Erin. We're now going to take a moment to introduce the new board members. I think that you are speaking to that slide.
Sure. So our new board members, and I'm not sure in which order we should have them speak, but we want to give them a moment to realize that we're going to ask them to say a wee bit about themselves. So, Alex Grieg, would you like to go first?
Just 1 second, can we
Oh,
pause?
sorry, we have a vote. Never mind.
That's, we just kind of slid past that little piece. The AGM motions acclamation of board members. The motion on the floor is to acclaim the 2 returning members and 3 new members to the Vancouver Folk Music Festival Society Board of Directors. You have a single choice, yes in favor, no opposed, or not voting, abstention. So please complete your poll at this time. Wonderful, 98% say in favor and 2 abstentions. I'm going to close that poll. Thank you very much. The motion has passed.
Okay. So, Allison Klein, are you able to just say hello to the group and introduce yourself? That'd be great.
Hi, it's Allison. I use she, they pronouns. I am a white femme presenting person, living on the colonial lands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples, colonially known as Vancouver. I live not too far from Jericho Beach, which is nice. I have a master's degree in interdisciplinary studies with a double focus in cultural studies and work, leadership, and organization. I am currently on contract with Douglas College, working in their accessibility services. I sit on the Co-op Radio 100.5 board, where I have a radio show and podcast called The Self Advocate. I talk about arts and culture in the disability community. I have sat on the Accessibility Roundtable for the Vancouver Writers Festival. I've also spoke at the Vancouver Push Festival for Accessibility. I've also helped the Vancouver Fringe Festival for Accessibility. I have been trained as a sighted guide for Vocal Eye, which is a nonprofit organization promoting descriptive arts for blind and low vision people. I also do many other events around the city, all to do with accessibility and disability. I am a member of the BC People First movement on intellectual disabilities and developmental disabilities. I do a whole bunch of accessibility and disability. If you talk to me, I'll yap your ear off. And on my downtime, I knit, which I am doing right now. under the table. Anyways, thank you so much for having me on the board.
Thank you, Allison.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Next up is Alex Green. Please introduce yourself.
Great, thanks so much. Thank you very much for the welcome. I'm really looking forward to joining the board. I've been kicking around Vancouver in the music and event space for going on 25 years, attended lots of festivals over the years. A little about myself, I actually started off as a music agent when I moved from Vancouver in 1996, I believe it was. Spent 11 years at the development agency. Then I was really fortunate to take on the role of music programmer for the Culture Olympiad and the live sites here in Vancouver. Where I got most of my gray hairs from. And then from that point on, I've had mostly director level roles and consulting roles at the Vancouver Jazz Festival. I spent some time over and developing Ambleside Park for the Ambleside Festival. For a brief time, for 3 years, I was exec director of Music BC. And over the last few years, I kind of branched off doing predominantly consulting. And I've actually taken on some instructor roles at Capilano University, where I teach festival management, and I also teach a music business course at the SAE Institute. So like I said, I've sort of run and operated my own consulting firm for probably about 20 years. Most of my work is actually predominantly in the nonprofit sector, mostly restructuring and doing assessments for nonprofit organizations to make them more sustainable and profitable. I've done a lot of talent buying over the years, obviously with the Olympics, did quite a bit at the Jazz Festival, Pan Am Games in Toronto, and a few other events. So like I said, most of the stuff that I do is sponsorship and revenue generation strategies for nonprofits, marketing and audience development. And I do a whole lot of government relations. I've been a pretty active proponent for the music and event space in Vancouver for 20 years. Obviously, a lot of that work was at Music BC, where I helped sort of negotiate the Amplify Music Fund and got all that sort of up and running with the government and the industry. And so that's a little bit about me. On my spare time, I'm an avid reader. I'm a bit of a bookworm, and I still enjoy music a lot. I go to lots of concerts, and that's about it. So really looking forward to working with all of you.
Thanks so much, Alex. Wow.
Yeah, we've got some great people coming on this board. And speaking of great people, we have someone who isn't able to attend, but we're going to have a video from her. Are we not, Amy?
Yes, we are.
Hello, my name is Clodagh O'Connell, and I apologize that I am appearing by video today, but I'm out of the country until the start of March. So a bit about myself. I am a lawyer. I've been a lawyer since 2013 is when I was called to the bar. I work and live on Vancouver Island, and I serve the communities of Port Alberni, Nanaimo, Yakluit, Tofino. And prior to that, I was a music journalist for a number of years, and I also wrote for television after that. So law is my third career. I've been going to the Vancouver Folk Music Festival for around 30 years. Whenever I'm in town, I go. And I love the Folk Fest, and I would love to be able to contribute probably mostly my legal background and my legal skills to the Folk Fest board in order to help the Folk Fest prosper. Thank you. Hello.
Goodbye.
That was nice to hear a little bit from Clodagh, even though she couldn't attend with us tonight. We're going to open the floor. Are we opening the floor for questions now, Erin?
Yes, we are, and other business. So if you have questions for us, here we are.
Questions and other business. Tony?
Sorry, I should just put myself on video. So yeah, let's talk about the raffle. What how do you suggest that we proceed with this? Like, should we just kind of throw it together like we did last year? Just want to throw that out there. Because prizes are always the biggest issue, and the earlier start, the better.
Anne Blaine, would you like to take that question?
Tony, we already have 3 prizes.
Nice work.
And you're going to be happy with them. So
all right, well,
your bike guy came back, and he's also doing some other stuff. And anyway, so we're already started, and it was my plan this week to get hold of you so we could get going.
We'll talk. Thank you very much, Anne. Thank you.
Eleanor, thanks for the question, Tony. Eleanor in the chat noted that last year's raffle sold out, which I am well aware of. She's asking, was that the maximum number of tickets we could sell? And Aaron has answered that yes, it was. So that I'm glad that you asked that question.
We are exploring the possibility of 50-50 to try and increase revenue, because we're all about that. So stay tuned.
And shout out to Eleanor, who bought the last tickets and won the guitar.
Yeah.
So many people had their heart set on that guitar. Congratulations, Eleanor. All righty, I'm just gonna scroll down here, see if there's any more questions. I don't see any questions from the floor. Let's go to the next slide. Oh, there's a question from Gordon before. Oh, and also a question from Linda. So Gordon, go ahead.
Sorry, I was muted. I was just saying this is more of a comment than a question. Is that appropriate?
Well, depends what it is, but let's hear it.
Well, this is just in response to the suggestion that was made earlier about rebranding the festival. I just wanted to say, for the sake of the historical record, that probably the first time I can remember that coming up in discussion at the festival office was around 1980. And it's never been decided exactly what would be a name that would draw hundreds or even thousands more people to the site. I can remember once proposing that we call ourselves the Vancouver Alternative Acoustic Music Festival, but that was considered cumbersome. So, if there's magic words out there, I'd love to know what they are, but I frankly can't think of any, even after all this time. I mean, people know that we're the folk festival. We've been doing this for 45 years, and I mean, it's we have brand recognition, and
Absolutely.
not sure that what we could change our name to that would say, well, now that the hippies are no longer dominating, I guess I can go to the event at long last because it sounds like they finally come to their senses. No, I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. So anyway, whatever. Maybe there is a magic name out there. I'll be interested to hear what it is.
Thanks, Gordon, for your comment. I think we're sticking with the name. As you said, it's well recognized, it's long running, and people know what we offer. Yeah, we're not looking for title naming sponsorship of the festival, to my knowledge. But thank you for the comment. And Linda, did you still have a question?
I do.
All right, go ahead.
Thanks everyone for all your efforts and hard work. And Aaron, you made a comment earlier about one of the first agenda items that as directors you have is to get full-time staff, which then made me think about any organization does need a direction, like an agenda for a meeting. And so then I wondered, is there that kind of an agenda operating for the folk festival? Here's our first goal, we're getting some paid staff. Here's our second goal, we're raising $1 million. Here's our third goal, this is what we're doing. Or is each committee just kind of being tasked with, this is your job, and there's a hope and a prayer that all of that's going to come together? And I'm a very blunt person, so if I'm not being diplomatic enough, my apologies.
No apologies necessary. Aaron, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, we're a pretty blunt board, so all good. Our main goal, our main focused agenda item is to put on a successful, financially sustainable festival. We need staff to do that. We need funding to do that. We need fantastic music to do that. We need the support of the community. We have some of these things. We're working on getting more of them. I think that's our main goal. It's not sustainable to have the board continue to do as much work as we have been doing. And I know a number of us, myself included, put in some 100-hour weeks in the build up to the festival. And those of us who have full-time jobs, families, other commitments, you know, there's only so long we can do that. And we're doing less of that because we have more staff in the office and more people doing the work. And we're also working with Vantage Point around our operational structure. We have a strategic plan. It's something that we look at board meetings. So I think we have a good structure and vision, and you know, really what we need is funding to be more secure.
May I follow up a little bit? Like you say, okay, we have an operational structure. Is that something us as a general group could be aware of?
So what I said is that we are engaged with Vantage Point to get an operational plan going forward.
So that's not there right now.
Strategic plan is on the website. And we have an ongoing strategic action plan. And certainly one of us could follow up with more information about that if you can't find it on the website.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Linda. Appreciate it. Thanks, Erin. Gina, your hand's up?
Yes, I just wanted to say that the Edmonton Folk Festival and many other folk festivals are doing just fine and pulling in way, way, way more audience than we do. And the name Folk Festival actually makes people feel that it's safe to go there. If we were called an alternative festival, I would be leery of what kind of clients we're going to end up with and fights and things. I think folk is known to be a safe festival to bring your family to.
Thank you. Appreciate the comment. Chris Clausen, just in response to your chat comment, there's a committee of folks, myself included, working on engaging youth and engaging young people and trying to bring the little folks space more prominence, more diversity, more stuff going on. And also the little folks are our future, and we are well of that. And catering to people with young families matters. And that's what we're working on. So appreciate that.
Right on. Thank you.
Important. Yeah, we've got our irons in a lot of fires where there's nothing really that we can, unless you want to talk to that at all, Yi, there's nothing, I think. Yi, did you want to speak to that at all? Some of the outreach you've been doing?
Sure. I can speak a little bit about that. So since we haven't finalized all of the agreement with the various music schools that are in town, I don't really want to name them at the moment. However, once we have our agreement in place, you will see us talking about them, you know, in our newsletter or on our show. But we are collaborating with some of the music schools that are in town to bring their students to the site this year to entertain our audience. And that could be in the Little Folk area. They could be doing some little acoustic sets in front of the stages, between sets during the day stage. We are trying to do these kind of promotion in a frugal manner because, you know, once again, we don't really have money. In exchange for having their students come and play at the site and giving them early exposure to an experience of performing in front of a larger crowd that are not mainly parents. They're also going to be having day outings to come to the festival with their family and their teachers. And so we're bringing a lot more little young people to the site this year. And you'll see some of those announcements within the next couple months.
Thank you, Yi.
No worries.
Thanks for the comment, Chris. Just gonna pause for a moment. I don't see any other questions unless someone else does.
I'd like to share what Anne McDonald said in the chat, which is, we are the folk and this is our festival.
That's correct.
Eleanor was just making a comment about the marching band at the P&E. There's so much young talent out there. There's still a couple of hands up, so I think I'll just quickly answer those hands before we conclude the meeting. Dog Kahuna, go ahead.
Yes, I just want to express for all of us our appreciation for you directors. You saved our festival last year and you have set us on a great course for 2024 and beyond. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We appreciate the love. Gordon, looks like you're getting the last word.
Well, this probably doesn't pertain to 2024, but I have been asking at AGMs for several years now what the considerations are being given to the impact of the development of the Jericho land site on the festival site. And now that it is a reality and it's going to go forward, probably not in the next few months, but I would say possibly it'll be start clearing as soon as later this year. There is going to be, I guess most people are aware of the density of it. Essentially, they're building a replica of the West End on the Jericho lands, and there's going to be major truck traffic and all kinds of things for years on end. And we're going to lose access to parking on that side and any use of buildings or anything else. I'm just wondering if there is a subcommittee of a subcommittee of a subcommittee that is monitoring this and is in communication with MST Developments, who are developing a site, to find out what the scheduling is and when we can expect the auditory and visual impact to be coming to the 4th Avenue side of that particular site, because it is going to be massive, the impact, both visual and auditory. So I'm kind of wondering how we're looking forward to that. Like I say, this is not 2024. Right now, we're focused on surviving 2024 and moving forward. But as we move forward, this construction is going to be taking place over a period of probably a decade. And it's going to severely alter the ambience of the festival. And I'm wondering what attention is being paid to that.
Thank you, Gordon. Anne, do you want to take that?
Lots of attention, Gordon.
Yeah, we're talking.
You started out and then I took over. We're part of the working group with the city and the MST. We're working on developing relationship with all of the developing groups. And we had quite a bit of input into some of the pre-planning, wouldn't you say, Yi? They took a lot of our suggestions.
They did. They incorporated a lot of our suggestions into the plan, so there'll be much better traffic in the future years. But yes, it is also a concern that, once the land start being developed, there could be disruptions and unintended consequences to the festival. I think it's just something that we will need to continue to monitor, and we will retain our relationship with the group that we now have connections with to make sure that we're aware of all the things that are going on and decide when the time comes, what are the alternatives for us.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Yi. Aaron, it doesn't look like there's any further business.
Okay. There being no further business, this concludes the annual general meeting of the Vancouver Folk Music Festival Society, and I now declare the meeting is adjourned. I would like to thank everyone for attending the meeting. Keep an eye on your newsletters. Early bird tickets are coming. We have a donor campaign coming in March. We've got co-productions. We're working with other organizations to present artists throughout the year, which is also something the festival had stepped away from. We're getting back to. And also, please consider making a donation to the festival to keep the music playing. Tell your friends to do the same. A great thing to do is buy tickets for others. If there's young people in your life you think would like to come to the festival, we have great price on youth tickets and student tickets. We want to get more people in the park and diversify our audience. We need your help to do that. And we thank you for everything you've done, all of your support. It takes a community to raise our festival village, and we couldn't do it without you.
Aaron, just before we adjourn, I wanted to Christina put a little shout out to staff. So I thought it'd be really nice before we conclude the meeting to give that shout out, not just in the chat, but I wanted to just echo that sentiment to thank our staff who are on the call with us tonight and working behind the scenes with us. Katie, DK, Anne Hepper, David Furman, Katie Stenning, John Greenaway, John Endo Greenaway. The festival couldn't happen without you, and we
Gwen Calloway also. Gwen
Callio is also on the call. Thank you. And am I missing anyone?
Is Ian on the call?
No.
Ian isn't on the call. So for the staff that have joined us here tonight, we're so grateful for all your support, talent, dedication, and skill. And really, we couldn't do it without you.
You're all a bunch of beauties. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Aaron, do you want to finish off with that last slide?
Yes. That's us. Thanks again. And we'll see y'all in the park in July.
Current board members, are we staying on the call?
Oh, yes, I'm not there yet, but I just want to say we'll see all of the rest of you in the park July 19th to 21st. Bring your people. And board members, can you please stay on the call after everyone leaves? We want to just have a wee chat about when we have our next meeting.
Thank you, everyone, for attending tonight. We appreciate your participation and positivity. Thank you so much.
Our sponsorship manager is not on the call. Thank you to him. Doing great work.
Ian McKitchen, thank you.